everyone. Welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave.
Hi, Greg.
Oh,
Hey.
Hi, Brett. How are you?
I'm grand. How about you, Matt? Pick which one I'm talking to.
Doing spotty. Spotty? Sure.
Doing spotty. Are you on your period?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, sorry, Greg. Start over.
We had something beautiful and you made it tawdry. Jeez. All right.
I don't even know what that
What do
means.
you expect?
All right. Take two. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave. This will be the 8th meeting of the Silmarillion crew to discuss the Akallabeth and the downfall of Numenor. My name is Greg. I'm claudiusthefool on the forums, and I'm joined by 4 other vassals today. If you guys want to introduce yourselves in just Brett, Matthieu, and then Shane. Go ahead, but I'll cut that out. So you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hey, this is Brett, Whitehaven on the forums.
This is Matt, Varley on the forums.
This is Matthieu on the forums.
This is Shane, Easttexasdirewolf.
175. Jesus.
Oh, yeah, I can't count.
There's 174 other barracks on the forums, Matthew.
Yeah.
You gotta specify.
I'm the 175th one on the forums, so it's like, yeah, very original name.
And Shane.
Y'all done?
Yeah, we're done.
This is Shane, Easttexasdirewolf on the forums.
Oh, this is a very forceful introduction there, Shane.
That was
We
like
had
the
to
Monday
force
Night
him something.
Football.
What's the
Where you do your
difference
name?
between West Texas direwolves?
They're not as good looking.
They don't live
Ah.
in Louisiana.
All right, we are approaching the end of this epic series, which has been going on for, I believe, 15 months at this point, or maybe 14 months. But we have one more scheduled after this, and then we're on to, was it Atlas Shrugged we're going to do next? A week-by-week, chapter-by-chapter discussion? I didn't tell you guys that?
You
Unfinished
guys took it up.
tales.
All right. If you guys have some time, I'd love to tell you about Ayn Rand and her political views.
I've read that
Oh,
book.
I'm pretty sure Trump is telling us her political views.
yeah.
Nobody's read that book, no matter what.
I have too.
I've
I
read
actually, I didn't mind the book, but I don't think it's, like, realistic. Anyway,
Yeah,
on to the Silmarillion.
Yeah, it's like
The realistic Silmarillion.
Yes.
Yeah, the only connection between Ayn Rand and the Silmarillion is that, you know, her books could have been written by Sauron. Actually, it's like
All right. I think you just made the opening, Matthew. Very good. All right.
yeah.
Moving
Well,
right along. Today
That's
we will
just
be.
for itself.
All right. Today we're just going to be discussing the Akallabeth. It is its own chapter right after the Quintus Silmarillion, and this basically covers pretty much the entire Second Age of Middle-earth, at the end of the War of Wrath and the end of the First Age, and I think it's about 3,300 years of history right up until the downfall. So the first section pretty much just kind of summarizes the end of the First Age and the forming of Numenor, and I'll do a quick summary and then we can just get into the discussion. So Part 1. After the War of Wrath and the end of the First Age, the Valar chained and banished Morgoth beyond the world into the void. They then invited all those of the Eldar who wished to return with them into the west and to dwell on Tol Eressëa and in Aman. To the Edain, the 3 houses of men who fought with the Valar, the houses of Hador, Haleth, and Beor, the Valar gave them a new home, a large island in the shape of a 5-pointed star in the middle of the ocean, far off the coast of Middle-earth, and in fact closer to Valinor than Middle-earth. Numenor it was named, and this marked the beginning of the Dunedain. Elros, son of Eärendil, was their first king, and his line ruled after him. Elros lived 500 years and ruled Numenor for 410, or 10 and 400, I don't know, however they'd say it in the old-timey ways. 40 score and 10, probably not right on the math. Anyway, the Numenorians were forbidden to sail west beyond the site of their island and enter the Undying Lands. So instead they sailed east and further east than any mariners had before, eventually coming to the Gates of Morning in the east, which sounds like a pretty cool place that we've never heard of before. They became great shipwrights and explorers. They came to the men of Middle-earth as wise counselors and teachers, and brought their knowledge to the uncivilized men. They also aided Gil-galad and the Eldar in their ongoing wars with the servants of Morgoth, particularly Sauron. In the early years of Numenor, the Eldar would still set sail from Eressëa, and there was trade between the elves of the Undying Lands and the Numenorians. The Eldar gave a seedling of the tree Celeborn of Eressëa to the Numenorians, which grew to become Nimloth the Fair, the White Tree of Numenor, of which the White Trees of Gondor are descended. Discuss.
So, reading the whole before part of the Silmarillion, I thought men kind of got a raw deal. Like, they seem to be like stepchildren compared to the elves.
That's the
But-
dwarves.
Well, the dwarves are stepchildren.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Red bearded stepchildren.
But the
They're not
men, I
interested
mean,
in
they
that
got the
particular
men got
section.
a good deal here. I mean, the gods came and gave them a great place to live, and they actually came and interacted with them and taught them. Like I thought that was kind of surprising. I didn't know about that.
Well,
part.
the faithful men did. The Easterlings went east and went to unharvested lands and shit like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a
So-
small population of men, but
So what made you think that men got a raw deal in the first place, Shane? You mean before you read the Silmarillion, or just...
well, reading
they-
it up
they
to this
came.
point,
Okay.
they didn't get as good a deal as the elves, I should say. Like the elves got immortality. Yeah, death is a gift, so to speak, and probably at the end of the day, it's probably going to be better than being stuck on Middle Earth forever. But they just didn't get the personal attention, and seemed to be the less favorite of the two.
Yeah. Well, that was a discussion point I had towards the end, but we can kind of discuss it now because it comes up a lot. That like it seems like the elves are always having to remind the humans that like, hey, you guys have it better than us. Yeah, we get to live forever, but it's kind of a burden, and you guys get to die, and you don't know where you go. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
you don't have to.
But
yeah.
like they're being told that by immortal beings, and I can understand why the men would be like, yeah, we kind of would like to live a little longer, and we'd like to know where we go, and like stop
But they
telling
get to
us-
live longer here.
Yeah,
I mean,
except
500 years. That's a good run.
It
Except
is.
the elves are gonna tell
Yeah.
them like, we don't
Nothing
know,
is
we
enough.
have no idea, we don't know what to tell you. And also like, would you even like to look like forward to having to be Sauron's neighbor forever? Like it's like at some point you don't want to deal with that guy anymore.
And it's not like they had no disease. I
Yeah.
should have said that sentence wrong.
Well,
They didn't have any disease, and they died like when they got tired. They just died peacefully in their sleep.
yeah, they
It's not like they had it
let
made
go
for
the
them.
mortal coil.
But it's only the House of the Edain. All other men have a much rougher deal than the Numenorians, and they don't complain as much as they do because
Yeah, but we're just dealing
Numenorians
with the new
They didn't have
are
time
meant
to
to feel that
complain.
they're special. They're meant to feel that they're special because they have their own island, like closest to Valinor and stuff like that. And so they feel like we don't want to be like these other guys from Middle Earth, right? That's just for those people, not for us, right? That's the thing that kind of annoys me a bit.
I thought
Yeah,
it
but
was.
this-
Go
Oh, go ahead.
ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead.
I thought it was interesting that the longer men lived, it seemed like the less they warred, which is kind of like we always pick on the elves for being peaceful or not going to war all the time. And then they started to live for like 500 years, and they're like, why don't we just be peaceful and sail our ships for a while?
Because they
Yeah.
get frustrated. They get frustrated with the idea that they're not gonna enjoy
No,
life
but
as
that's
much,
from Sauron.
so they begin exploiting people and that sort of thing. But at the moment, they seem to have a very good deal. Actually, it's like they are.
Well, it seems that they pretty much for like 2,500 years, it wasn't smooth sailing all the way, but for a large chunk of the time, they obeyed the Valar. They didn't sail west. They didn't conquer, but they had settlements, and I figured them more like the Phoenicians. Like they had settlements all over the place, but they didn't really conquer people. They just like, hey, we're here to trade.
No, we're here to help
Yeah.
you out. Like they
And
took
here-
them
Yeah.
under their wing.
Yeah.
and
Here's
taught
our
them all this
knowledge.
shit.
Yeah.
They shed
Which
their
I-
culture, which is a fine thing. But at the end, it's also something that might not necessarily. I mean, that's not their priority at some point anymore. So it's a bit sad that this is where they have a good first beginning and then everything else just
Like everything.
yeah. No, I feel like there's some kind of allegory in here about it's not just
There's no
about,
allegory. Tolkien does not do
yeah, no,
allegory.
he hates his goddamn allegories, even though this resembles a hell of a lot
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this section that is
the Noah section from the Bible, and then you
Right.
have Atlantis and that sort of thing, and then lots of stuff that actually might find he probably got inspired by other things elsewhere. It's just that to me it's also fascinating. Like do you have a guy who lives for 500 years, which is a pretty big deal actually. For
but in the end, does it
Yeah,
really
but
matter?
it's not-
500 years or 50 years, you're still going to die, and you're going to
Right.
Yeah,
wait
but,
till life at the end.
Well, I'll
So-
take the 500.
I know.
So Ernest didn't complain. Ernest didn't complain. He had like a very long life. He lived it.
He had
and
a
that was it.
choice,
Well, he
though.
chose that. He chose immortal.
Yeah,
I think
but
that's the
that's
difference.
the thing though.
Yeah,
He's
and it wasn't
making a
like
conscious choice to be
all
mortal.
his family was dying off. Like they were all long lived.
Yeah.
So like if
So-
like we got a 500-year life like magically, you just like see everyone you love like die.
Yeah, and I think that 500
Find all new
years,
people to love, man.
Yeah.
when you're 500 years old, at some point you're probably like you can't see anything anymore, and you can't probably walk anymore. It's like that's the worst deal ever. It's like
That's pretty
well,
much what
what's
every
interesting-
vampire book
you got
ends with.
pretty much on life support after the first 100 years. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to be unconscious for the next 400 years, I guess.
You think they age like normal human beings for the first 100 years? And then they live 400
They look like Yoda by the time they're 500.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I'm
I
pretty
guess
sure
that-
they just age slower. Let's,
Yeah,
When we saw Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, he was like 80,
Yeah.
but he probably looked like a 25-year-old. So
Yeah,
let's
Yeah.
not
It
get
was like,
bogged down in the
what,
details.
Was it about 80 or 120 or whatever?
I forget.
I think he's about in his late 70s in Lord of the Rings.
Surely you cannot be 90. That's the only line I remember from the
Yeah.
movie with Eowyn.
Oh yeah, in the extended edition. Uh-huh. But no, but to the extent that if you want to prevent something like this from happening, then you just say, okay, well, let's have our god decide where you belong with, instead of having
to
you.
immortal people, 500 years is what?
Yeah, that's
Nothing.
a good. I mean, to me, that's a good deal. But if people still complain, like, what else are you gonna do? Are you gonna,
Well, they didn't start out complaining.
right. It took like
Yeah,
5
Okay.
generations for them to really get upset about it.
Yeah, they
Which
didn't
is a
start
long time
questioning.
when your generation is 500 years.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
took 2,500 years before they really started to have issues, right?
There were
Yeah,
grumblings
something like
before,
that.
but it really wasn't until... I mean, there were even before Sauron, there were grumblings about, hey, this isn't cool, but then he really
Yeah.
pushed him over the edge.
Well, I think like one of the worst things, you have these elves showing up with all this awesome stuff, and they're like, "But you can't come over." and see
Literally,
this
I mean,
stuff."
the island is just beyond this. Like, you can barely see heaven, Like, that
Well,
would
if you
drive me mad.
Well, you have to
Like-
go up to like the highest part of the whole place
Yeah.
and look
Mhm.
to
They
see
should have.
it.
They
but-
should have put Numenor like on the other side of the globe, like in the Gates of Morning, wherever
it's
that
such a
is.
tease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think Nienna made the Gates of Morning?
Somebody had to, right? There's a bunch
Or
of
is
places we get here that I'm like, ooh, what is that? But that was pretty cool.
Or is it like the Gates of Morning because that's where the sun comes first?
Oh, it's morning. Yeah, it's not like because she's crying all over it and made a.
I don't know.
I guess like this
Well,
comes.
because there's
to-
the doors of night on the west side, so I assume the gates of morning are.
Oh,
on
that
the
makes
east.
sense. Yeah.
I mean,
That's where they
the
shoved
world
the
at this point of middle the world that they live in is still flat at this point,
Flat,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah, so we
Yeah,
get to
so it's like the event horizon of morning, right?
So we have the island of Numenor, and it's a 5-pointed star, and you've
they
got
get a
the...
gold star in the form of an island.
Yes, they do. So in the center, you've got this tall mountain, Menel Tarma. At the top, there's a temple to Eru Iluvatar, and they hallow it and have lots of not parties, church up there.
Party.
Is this
Church?
Pretty much those
Whatever.
two go
is
together.
this the only mention of an actual temple? I don't remember any other ones.
It's the only one that they have to Iluvatar.
Yeah.
They
like,
don't need another
Nobody else has one to Iluvatar but them.
Well, I mean, like a temple.
Yeah,
like
that
a
is
religious
true.
Temple.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the elves had some to the other gods. I don't think so,
Yeah,
though.
they just put their hand over their heart and face the west, like
Right.
that's them going
Yeah.
to church.
It's harder when you can talk to them to worship them.
Right.
one. Yeah, talk to trees or whatever.
So in the west, you had Endunier, which was the major port on the west coast, and in the east, it was Romena. And the city of Armanellos was the big city in the center, and that's where the kings and their tombs were, and all the good stuff went down. Yeah, so it's a pretty good deal. We fault them for messing it up in the end, but for a good chunk of the time, they sailed far and wide, seemed to be lords of the ocean. No one could stand with them. Even in Middle Earth, Sauron was always causing trouble, but that really wasn't their problem until the end.
Why were
Yeah.
they so tall? How they were all taller than the rest of the men? What made that what?
Is that elf
Yeah,
blood?
yeah.
Elves are tall, right?
They're just special, I guess.
But they don't all have elf blood, just arrows in his line.
I'm sure he got around. I don't know.
Yeah, they have
he shed off his elven coil and then he started breeding like mad.
Erendia.
They don't have 25-year gestation periods like the elves.
It's
do.
Did you see how big my feet are, baby?
I guess Erendil is so special that his offspring gets to be really special, and I don't know.
He was
But it was,
Dunk's
all the
great grandfather.
Crossover.
Yeah.
Is it weird that the Valar made this incredible island for them and they made a shrine for Iluvatar on top? Did the Valar put that there or did the men
No,
make
that they made it
No,
themselves.
the
men
men
made
made
that.
it.
So
Made
why
it themselves.
That's a dick thing to do. It's like, oh, thanks for all this hard work you did, Valar. Yeah, this is going to Iluvatar.
No, they're all on the same side. There's no.
They're just, you know,
You don't think there's any pride there?
they know that this is all just there because Iluvatar wills it, I guess.
It's all in the music.
Yeah.
But-
Just a note that during this time, there's an unfinished tale called The Tale of Aldarion and Arendis, which was published as The Mariner's Wife in Unfinished Tales, which is set around like 800 to 1100 of the Second Age, and it deals with the sixth king of Numenor. But it's a pretty cool tale about a kid who falls in love with this woman and then basically falls in love with the ocean, and he's always sailing around and never home, and they have good stuff. And their daughter basically becomes the first queen of Numenor, which was a precedent that women can rule in this society. Check it out.
If only the elves would have realized that.
Anything else on the first section?
Like maybe the setup of the island. Like maybe we can talk a bit about the different areas.
Yeah, I mentioned them before, but if you want to do a...
I don't know. It's because
Something really
there's
important.
a port
to talk-
and there's a center.
it's because I'm not exactly sure how big the island is supposed to be in the end. It's like is it
I don't think
just
we ever
like
get
one
a
city
specific...
on there, or is it like
It's supposed to be Atlantis.
Twice the center, or twice the distance from the center to either end.
Because I thought maybe it might be the size of Britain, maybe
Well, I mean, not the official
Atlantis?
map, but the one from the the maps and atlases of Middle Earth has it about 300. Like the center, like not the solid center without the arms, is about 200 miles across, and then the arms stick out about 100 miles on each side. So that's basic the size. But I don't know if that's based on. There's nothing specific in here as to leagues.
because that would not be that big for an island, right? It's like
I don't think it's as big as Britain because, I mean, if you read Aldarion and Rendis, it's like they're running out of wood at one point and like they have to start going to Middle Earth to build ships and everything. So I don't think it's that big.
yeah,
But,
no, it's because like for the empire that is about to be built, it's like it's a very small area for that to be
And it
with
really
the
only
world's
has
biggest,
the one
at the
city
time.
and the two ports. I mean, there's little settlements and stuff, but and plus they say that they don't really have 1 million kids and they'll live to be 500 years old, so it's probably pretty sparsely populated.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that like we heard about so much in Lord of the Rings of the Numenorians and the ancient line, and it's one of the parts of Silmarillion that I always liked because I felt like it held up to the mystery, because even when you read this section, this is really just about the end of it. Like we're not told the whole story, and I kind of like that. Like the Silmarillion tells you the whole story of the First Age and the Ancient Days and the Elder Days, but I like how he left you some mystery. Like you can go look up the 20-something kings of Numenor, but you don't really know much about them.
Yeah, I like how they kind of skipped over like they said, it was blissful and great, and a lot of things advanced, but they don't even talk about it, and then it's all lost. So
No, it's because it's all lost. The author has no clue what it is about.
Well, no, the author actually said is blissful and graceful, and they had
that's
no
all.
idea of war anymore, and
It wasn't that
They're
interesting.
Right. Yeah, if you look at the lines of the kings, it's basically Palantir is kind of like the first guy that, or we'll say Gimmelzor is the first one that features, and that's after 3,100 years. So it's pretty much 33, millennia of relative peace.
Yeah. Because there's
Well,
no conflict. If there's no conflict, there's no story. So it's
right,
like,
he never writes about time of peace. It's just it's gone.
It's like you skip a movie to the good part where it's like, oh yeah, this is where stuff gets messed up. Okay, now we're talking. But
sure.
I don't know. Feels like it. Like it's like, oh yeah, there's all this happy, rainbow, friendship is magic kind of stuff happening for.
Yeah, but there's always that bittersweet part of not being able to go, having a ban he had the Oath of Feanor, which kept everybody fucked up for the first 300 pages. And now it's like, this is great, this is your place, but don't come over here. And I wonder what's going to happen eventually. You're going to come over here.
Because these elves definitely feel more like the elves from Lord of the Rings. Like these are not, like the elves from Feanor's days. Like they are much more mellowed out, I guess.
If Tolkien was prone to allegory, you could say it's like Eden and Adam and Eve, but he's not.
Well, yeah. Like at one point, he
hate
calls it like Atalante or something.
Oh, you're
So
going to
it's
drop
obvious.
my big Atlantis comparison now?
Okay.
Save it
Yep.
until the end, Matt.
Well, we talked about
Well,
it.
you can cut that out.
That's all right.
You can cut it out.
You can have that.
I'm a big fan of having people Edit me.
Just like to me, the deluge comparisons are much more, much more immediate because you have these, this sort of place of sin that gets washed away, right? In a biblical sense, like there's a big, cataclysm and then everything.
Well, let's wait till we get there.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
No, it's just like when we. That's why I was thinking, there might be more than one source where we can find it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Let's go to the summary 2 then.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Who would like to read part 2?
I got this.
I can read it if you want.
Let's let Matt
I
do
got
it because
this.
he's going to get
Matt.
progressively drunker, and then you can take one of the
Yep.
later ones.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's why I called part 2.
And the quotes at the bottom there aren't part of the summary. Those are just some important quotes, so you don't have to read them.
Okay. Eventually, the Numenorians begin to resent the band of the Valar from sailing west and began grumbling, "Shut up," among themselves and to speak openly against the Valar. Word of the Numenorians' unhappiness reached Manwë, and he sent messengers to Numenor to try to calm them and help them find reason. During the kingships of Tal Kirsiatan, the shipbuilder, and Tar and Talmir, Numenor was at its height of bliss after about 2,000 years or so. And Talmir ignored the messengers from Valinor and had his counselors find ways to extend life for as long as possible, and began to spurn the will of the Valar. In the days of Tar Ankalmin, there began the rift in the Numenor between the greater part of the king's men who obeyed the king without question and the faithful who were true to the Valar. The Numenorians did not find ways to preserve life, only ways to preserve the flesh after death. They also founded great settlements on the coast of Middle-earth and built great tombs in Numenor to their dead kings. They now came to Middle-earth as lords and masters instead of helpers and teachers. Only the faithful still came to Middle-earth to help Gil-galad in his wars with Sauron, and the ships from Erisea became fewer and fewer.
So this is kind of the beginning of the end.
Things starting to go south.
It's kind of hilarious when you read it. Like, they all came to me as lords and masters instead of helpers and teachers. It's like...
Oh, Middle Earth.
Oh, yeah.
To me.
Trying to summarize, make abbreviations when possible.
Yeah, I picked up on the me equals Middle-earth.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the key at the top next time. But one question I had from this section was the messengers. He gives them a capital M, which makes me think like they're not just. It's got to be an official like not Valar, but maybe they're Maiar or like not just any old elves who we sending over there because that's a pretty big deal. Like these are the messengers of the gods that are telling you these things. And
yeah, but they're from Tolerancia, right?
Yeah, I guess they were. I just always took them to be elves.
They probably are, but I don't know. I just you don't really see them capitalize random stuff like that. So
I like to picture them as talking birds. They just not take them seriously.
Yeah. Maybe they're just wizards. Who knows?
I kind of imagine that old Saturday Night Live skit with what's that guy who was like the secretary, but he wouldn't let anybody see the guy.
Oh boy,
the short guy. David
Short?
Spade.
Oh yeah.
Like when Jesus shows up. Oh, it's like, yeah, just have a seat right over there. We'll get to you in a minute.
But
it's a different
I mean, I guess why I look at them as elves is because they talk about the first children as us. They say like we as the firstborn, etc. So it's like
All right. Mystery solved.
Mystery solved.
But they do have, a couple of pretty good quotes where it's the same arguments that we've heard in the first age and with now again and again. But they have this one line which always stuck with me where they say, "For it is not the land of Manwë that makes its people deathless, but the deathless that dwell therein have hallowed the land. And there you would but wither and grow weary the sooner, as moths in a light too strong and steadfast." And this always kind of is one of these scenes in the book that like I see in my head, but I always picture like the end of Indiana Jones, where the guy drinks from the cup and he just starts dying and decomposing right there. Like that's what would happen if they went there, because the land is too holy. It's just too holy.
Yes, but it's a blissful death. It's not like that guy.
Yeah, he turned
right.
into Pycelle. Like, look what happened.
But that isn't what happened to
That guy chose Varley.
old Pharaoh, whatever his name is.
Old Pharaoh?
What's his name?
Ar-Pharazôn?
Yeah, Ar-Pharazôn. He didn't wither. And his men
Well, I
didn't
mean, he
wither.
still
Like
like
if they stayed
No,
there.
he got something else.
But they did stay there.
He's trapped forever.
In the caves of the forgotten. Until
Contradictory information.
We'll get there eventually.
There's a little contradictory information in this book. If you haven't picked up on that yet.
Me, like, the idea is, I mean, at least, even the kings who are starting to question things, they are still keeping with the old traditions of having names in Elvish, whereas we will see later on that they'll choose to have, they choose to not openly adopt these Elvish names anymore, or that they'll not speak the language and that sort of thing. So it's actually, that's why I like this section, because it's like, it shows really like how a culture sort of changes over time. Which is
funny. It's like for Tolkien, they stop speaking the language. It's like, gasp. You did what?
Yeah, I wrote a whole book about how to speak those words, and you're not using them.
Also, it's like like I said before, like I don't blame them, because these people are living 2,000 years after anyone who has any connection to the events of the end of the First Age, and people who actually met the Valar and fought against Morgoth. That's so far. It's like reading. If the only books that we had as rule books were like books that were written in the 5th century. Like we would question that and we would rebel
Or
against
like
that,
the Bible.
Yes, I'm trying not to make it too anti-biblical, but you question it, and
yeah, sure,
and that's not unreasonable, I don't think.
I wonder how it works, like with overlap. Being that they live like 500 years, you would think they would like sire children somewhere like between 1 and 200 years old. So there'd be a lot of overlap in the ages.
Yeah, I guess
it's not that many generations. It's only like 4, 5, 6, 7 generations. It's not 50.
They have children later in life.
Yeah.
It was like tradition that you have the children later in life, and that they hand over the crown to them if they, as kings, that once they were old enough. So it's like around the age when they're 18, I guess.
Well,
so
there's a Numenorian equivalent of 18, which is probably like 88 or something.
Who knows?
Well,
it's like a hobbit coming of age at 33.
But like Elros lived, like he ruled the Numenor for 410 years. So like, let's say he had a son when he was like 100. Okay, so that son would have only got to rule for like 150 years because his dad would have lived so goddamn long.
Yeah.
So
sucks.
So there's like a lot of overlap there, is what I'm thinking.
But that just only sucks for the first guy.
Well, then the second one has the same issue though. Like
I'm
the
saying,
second
but that's
one,
normal after that.
Yeah, I guess you only.
The first guy's the only one that got to rule for 400 years.
It's the Prince Charles problem.
No. Don't they say something like the kings would give up their bodies like when they felt like they're about to die?
Yeah, even some.
And
of them,
then
like,
afterwards,
did it earlier,
and afterwards they try to like outlive their spirit, like instead of like just giving up the mortal coil, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the Tale of Eldar and Erendis, the king basically, when he realizes that his son would do a better job than he would, he abdicated. He didn't die, but he abdicated in favor of his son. And he was 180-something years old like that. So that did happen. At the end, they were trying to cling to life more and get more out of it. And they said they built tombs to the dead rather than giving two shits.
The living, yeah.
Oh, the irony.
Mm.
It's to me the arguments made by the messengers are kind of reasonable. Like, even though like I can understand why the Numenorians would not just trust in their faith just on faith, I guess, just to say, oh yeah, well, obviously because that's the will of Ilúvatar, then we're not, we're not going to question it or whatever. That's it's still fine to have, to question it somewhat, but, still that's, there's a difference between having reasonable doubt and then doing whatever else they're going to do later. It's like, you went from one very reasonable position to, I don't know, end of the world type behavior, which is like completely, off the charts. Like I can't. That's why I have more sympathy for the Numenorians, at the beginning than I have at the end, because at the end it's just like
by the end they're
wash it
clearly
away.
Oh yeah,
Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's
yeah.
At
Well,
this
it's
point
tough
they're just
'cause,
questioning.
Like
Yeah.
the longer you
But they
go,
did get there. They got there by degrees. It wasn't like
Because it's like, to me, to me, immortality would be actually much more. That's that's not actually that appealing, to be honest. Like when you can't really die, like you get weary and you don't, there's no end to this actually. You just get older, and that sucks actually to me. Like
there is
this,
a land
this
of
concept.
bliss.
So yeah, and that's what the elves say.
At the same time, who doesn't yearn for the sweet release of death?
You just had to put it in here somewhere.
A lot of it depends on your situation. Like the elves, none of them will die. Well, not of natural causes anyway.
Don't even get
So,
sick.
so for them, like all their friends and their family are gonna live forever too. So you can just like live on with them. But with these guys, if you live forever and everybody else, even at 500, dies, you're probably gonna get really lonely really quick.
Yeah, because there's no reason to get attached to anyone, because you're just gonna think at some point, oh yeah, well they're just gonna die at some point, and I'll just have to find new friends again, and that sort of thing. It's like, yeah, and it's not like it's being young forever either. It's like you might just age forever, which is also like really awful. But
yeah, but I don't think they get like feeble and stuff. Really
I don't think we need to get bogged down in like the specifics of the aging process.
I'm just saying, like the idea of if they had thought it through, they might have realized that this is actually not something that they should be envious of.
I'm
sure
Farazan, wheel me over there. Fuck
I'm sure
you.
400-year-old.
You fucking die already.
It's like the problem with the Anne Rice vampires, that they don't know how to actually live in other ages anymore.
Yeah.
Because they've lived for so long.
Well, they stay the same. They don't change with the times.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the elves in this. I mean, they don't really change with the times either.
The times never really
Get
changed.
with the program.
until the end.
Right. There's no technological advancement in this world. Thousands of years go by and they don't have cell phones yet. Let's go.
Yeah.
Except by the end of the
Valinor
day,
has
they got having a battering ram.
I guess the Palantir are kind of like cell phones, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fëanor was ahead of his time.
Very, very tricky, manipulative cell phones.
Yeah, but don't always work when you want them to work, and might cause you to go mad.
Oh yeah.
Sauron is like the awful customer service. Pippin
Sorry,
is like,
Sauron's the
Okay,
9.0 like update that you have to do.
Speaking of the Palantirs, did I read that right? That when after the fall and everything, when they were on Middle Earth, there was one in the Undying Lands?
There's one initially there.
Is that what
but they brought
Gilgalad
over
used to kind of?
Wait, what?
They brought over seven.
Yeah.
There was one that sank with Numenor. Is that the one you're
No.
talking about? Or there was one.
There was one in the Undying Lands that like Gilgalad used to sort of
Yeah.
longingly look into the Undying Lands.
Oh,
Or
maybe.
something.
Well, I don't
Seems
know.
like I read that.
Weren't they were
I don't know.
gifts from the elves, right? Originally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they took
From
all,
the
there were
Undying Lands.
Right. So they took 7 with them. There might have been more originally. We don't know, but the 7 they took with them on their ships.
No,
Familiar.
7 seems like the right number.
Yeah, 7 stars, 7 stones, and 1 white tree. Like 7 stars, 7 stones, and 6 other stones. Just it doesn't fit in as much.
There could be 7 or 9, maybe 12.
All right. I did like the picture of like the beginning of the decline of the civilization, where you've got I picture these like Numenorian necromancers who are like trying to not raise the dead, but just make all this black magic to keep them living, and it doesn't work. But they've made mummies, I guess, so they figure
A whole nation of Kyburns. It's like,
Yeah.
no thanks.
He'd fit in. Qyburn would so buddy up to Sauron so quick. He's like,
The mouth of
you
Sauron.
keep me in people.
That's-
Yeah, we'll go both ways. Don't worry.
And I guess like they are sort of meant to be I can see the Egyptians in there somewhere,
Right.
like how they mummify their dead and that sort of thing. And I find it also very very interesting that they sort of even consider like bringing back the dead to life and that sort of thing. It's like, don't do that. It's well, we know because we are in a post Tolkien fantasy context now, but still, I guess the only other thing is that I like the split that we see where the Kingsmen and the faithful start, to coexist. Even though they might have peaceful disagreements, it's still a disagreement. Like they don't, they don't share the same
political parties. It's not like it's not the reign of terror or anything like that.
No, I would say that they are,
Not yet.
I would say the Kingsmen are sort of like they could be seen maybe as sort of like political groups that are going through the streets like advertising for the king's position, but the faithful don't necessarily like they don't try to. I don't think that they're trying to convince other people of their own opinion. That's a difference probably.
No, they're just keeping their heads down and trying to stay true to true to their school.
Wow. Did you just say stay true to your school?
Yeah, I just watched the Brian Wilson movie, so I got Beach Boys on my mind.
Oh my god!
Right on.
We've got our outro music. That's
Yep.
awesome. Moving on to part 3, unless anyone has anything else to ask, we get Sauron finally coming into the mix.
Alright, I got part 3. No, it's so short I gotta read it. Oh, I see some
Technically,
names that are
part
gonna be tough,
4. No, yeah, that is the shortest of the last 3.
Yeah, I got this one.
You
Nobody
can do
mind.
it, buddy.
M.E.
Alright.
M.E. is Middle Earth.
I got this. Gilmazor, fuck. Alright.
Okay, that might be the opening.
Alright. During the long years of the Second Age, Sauron returned to Middle-earth to build his stronghold in the land of Mordor. He raised
The
a great
shadows
fortress.
lie. Sorry, I didn't leave.
Again, very hilarious. Sauron returned to me and built.
Alright, just read it as me from now on.
He raised a great fortress, Barad-dûr, and gathered all forces of evil to him. He battled the elves in Eriador. He forged the One Ring during this time and ensnared the Nazgul with the 9 rings, 3 of which were the lords of Numenor. The 20th king of the Numenor forsook the elven speech and named himself Adunacor, Lord of the West. The 23rd king, Gilmazor, was the greatest enemy to the faithful. He declined to tend the White Tree and drove all of the faithful to the westernmost part of Numenor, so they were far from the elf friends of Middle-earth.
Of me!
The elven... Oh, sorry, man, I can't do that to this. It's such a beautiful ride. The elven ships of Erisea stopped sailing to Numenor during this time as well. Gilmazor's 2 sons were complete opposites. Inziladun, the older, followed his mother and was one of the faithful. His second son, Gilmocahad, was alike to himself, proud and willful. When Inziladun ascended to the throne, he named himself Tar Palantir in the elven tongue of old and gave peace to the faithful. He tended the White Tree again and followed the old customs in the temple upon Meneltarma. He also prophesied that when the White Tree perished, the line of kings would end. After the death of Gilmocahad, his son Pharazôn openly opposed the rule of Palantir, and when Palantir died, Pharazôn forcibly married his cousin Miriel, the only child of Palantir. He took the scepter of Numenor upon the marriage and named himself Ar-Pharazôn, King of Numenor.
Yeah.
Pharazôn really does roll off the tongue, though. It's a nice, and you
easier
know
to
it's got
say.
negative connotations. It's another one of those names. It's the Z. It's not always a bad thing, but it's like, hey, watch out, there's a Z in there.
They seem so Egyptian to me.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going for.
Is it?
Or
He just-
in a way.
It's got Pharaoh in there, so it's close.
Yeah, that's probably why. But it's just Pharazôn is so much better than what the fuck is the Inziladun? What the fuck is that?
That's another one that
Gilmocahad?
reminds me of the Protoss. Gilmocahad just sounds like a Hebrew,
It's
scholar.
just like a dwarf name or something. What are you doing there?
Yeah.
Pharazôn just perfect. I would have changed my name too. All right, so comments on that?
Anyway, Sauron gets back into the picture, which is like,
Yeah, I've always been hazy as to, like, has he been, like, messing things up for 3,000 years, or has he been biding his... I know they mentioned that they've aided the Numenorians have aided Gil-galad in his fights against Sauron, but we're approaching, like, 3,000 years here, and Sauron's just getting around to building his fortress, or that's why I don't know if the timelines necessarily match up, or we're just hearing about it now when it's been going on the whole time.
He's just been playing D&D in Mordor for 3,000 years. Don't worry.
All right.
I think this is just we're just hearing about it.
He's been like going amongst the elves and like gathering intel and
right, because when we read the last section, you find out that he's like been appearing to Celebrimbor and helping, trying to make rings with him, and that's not a double entendre. He's literally just trying to make rings.
But yeah, because he actually, at this time he would try to create the rings of power. So it's like he had to be very nice to the elves. So I guess he would have not stirred up any trouble.
Right.
You can see part of that in Shadows of Mordor video game.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
not canon, but
oh, really?
Canon.
Not
That's
canon.
not canon. That's not canon.
No,
And-
but Sauron like begged for pardon, right? And then
We're not there
was
yet.
ashamed.
No, that's not until when the Numenorians come, right?
No, after the
No.
big battle.
after the
No, he
last
ran away.
they sort of tried
No,
to
I thought he
Oh, you mean
I
in the
thought
first
he
stage?
like begged for pardon, and then that's why he was able to like look all pretty and shit.
I thought they
Right
never
after the
found-
first stage.
Yeah, when they cast out Morgoth, sort of they
No, I think they mentioned that he like fled with some Balrogs
Yeah.
to like the far east and just fucked off.
yeah.
I think they said he was gonna. Well, it's unknown whether he was genuinely sincere about being sorry. Some people said they thought he was, but
Thank you, Shane.
regardless, they sort of got busy with Morgoth and turned around, and when their backs were turned, Sauron was like, "Well, shit, fuck it, I'm out." And
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
You're probably right.
yeah. Now he's in Mordor. Like, who cares? It's there's nothing there anyway.
Is there nothing there because he's there, or was there nothing there when he got there?
Oh, okay. Oh,
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does. Like it could have been like this beautiful like
Oh,
green
yeah.
fields or trees, but when he got there and started cutting shit down. Look
Yeah.
around Isengard. I mean, it used to be a forest, and now it's just
Well,
Wasteful.
Mordor.
well,
like,
in
I
the
remember
video
Forest.
game Shadows of Mordor, you can see the land of Mordor before Sauron gets back, and it's green. There's pastures and stuff.
oh
People are
boom.
living there.
See that
But
video
there
game
are-
proven.
There are areas where you can actually live. It's just that the area that the Lord of the Rings focuses on is like the desert, like towards the Black Gate and that sort
Yeah,
of thing.
but they
On
still
the other side,
mention
on the
they-
eastern
it,
side of
like,
Mordor, there are people living there.
Hey,
There's, like-
hey! Take everything you've heard from Shadow of blah blah and throw it away. Not canon.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it
No,
could
but
be a wasteland
true.
because of
Right?
But
No,
that's-
I understand that.
but
But
in Lord of
I
the
don't want to
Rings,
like inform our listeners that we're getting our information from the Shadow of Mordor video game.
No,
just some of it.
All right.
in Lord of the Rings, they mentioned
Isn't
that there are
Celebrimbor like a ghost in that or something?
in the Lord,
Sure.
Yeah,
He's a
listen to
shade.
Matthew. Hold on.
Just like the
He's about to make the point that I wanted.
because in Lord of the Rings, there's
Like the ring race.
mentioning when they are when Frodo and Sam walk through Mordor that they are on the eastern side, or in the southeast of Mordor. I guess there are fields where people live.
Thank
and,
you.
the slaves.
Yeah, they find like the
You know,
stream trickling by
it is-
where they get their water and everything, and
Yeah.
of course people have to live there. Or
Yeah.
orcs have to live there.
No, but,
No,
also
but
in-
there's a
in-
whole big
in-
farming thing.
All right.
yeah.
they've got a slave human population.
I do know
it's
that they have
slave
farms and they're
population
bringing in
because,
food.
Like, in the east, there's so many human kingdoms that basically they would at some point. It's easy to take slaves and take them to Mordor. Like it's not.
Makes
Um,
sense. Vindicated, Matt. You're vindicated.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, you're
Moving
vindicated.
on. Yeah, so we get the line about Pharazôn marrying his cousin against her
Oh,
will,
yeah.
which kind of mirrors.
Because there got to be incest somewhere.
Yeah, and then he specifically states, even the Numenorians didn't go for that sort of thing. Cousins in the first degree.
Yeah. It's a
Second degree, you're all in the clear.
I mean,
No,
the
but
breeding
it is in
population is only
Texas,
so
right?
big.
It's really unfortunate, like that. They. I mean, he married her
Yes.
against her will, I guess, as well. Like, was it
Yes.
his father? I guess I'm not sure.
No, he married her against against her will and took up the scepter.
Yeah, it was after his father died.
Which doesn't
And
really make
named
a lot of
himself
sense.
Pharazôn, King of Numenor.
To me, the most egregious thing is that Gimli-Khad and Palantir's father didn't actually want Palantir to rule because it's like he preferred the the more selfish kind, like the guy.
Yeah, he says he would have yielded the scepter to the rather than to the elder son if the laws had allowed.
Yeah.
But it shows you that they weren't all part of the King's Men, and he was of the faithful. He made some predictions that, of course, turned out to be 100% accurate in a a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And progressively, like the elvish influence.
Very John-esque.
Okay. Sorry.
According to some rereads, I've heard it.
And of course, like the elven languages get forbidden progressively. Like, you know, at first they're sort of like, yeah, we don't like you speaking in the elven tongue here before us, but it's like, okay, we'll still tolerate you, and then at some point it gets like prohibited with punishment.
But I feel like Palantir might have like known, or maybe not openly, but like this was the last shot that the Numenorians had to do good by the Valar, and then he has that,
right.
You know, where he would constantly go into the west and stand upon the shores and gaze.
Yep.
Says, but no ship again sailed from the west to Numenor, and Avalone was veiled in cloud.
It's like trying
they've
to
shut the gates to them. You know, you can't.
Like trying to turn around climate change when essentially you can't do anything about it anymore. It's like, you know, you have like 5 days.
No, it's
you're
not
bringing
like
up climate
that at
change.
all.
I'm trying to keep this not political.
5 days before you have 5 days before, you know, humanity retires, and then you try to turn around and say, oh well, let's cut carbon emissions or whatever, and it's like too late.
So Tar Palantir just wanted to cut carbon emissions.
So
that's why he
Palantir
created
Obama?
the Palantir. So you don't have to drive to see anything. You just look into a stone.
Come on, it's so obvious. No, it's like, you know, it's like
so
when
Farazan is Donald Trump, is what you're saying.
Oh
think, like-
no, he's worse. He's worse. Like
Yeah, they were talking
No,
about
he's
Who's
the
worse?
Farazan.
I don't think Donald Trump is sacrificing human beings just yet, but we're gonna get there with Farazan pretty soon, I guess.
All
So when the elves show up on the boats that like without any paddles or sails, do you think those are just like motorboats?
They're pulled by swans. We know that's the height of their technologies. They tie strings to swans and have them pull ships. Did you miss that part?
I guess I'm not familiar with swan technology.
Our Farazan just had like a bunch of guys tied to the front of his boats, like swimming.
Swim.
instead of
That's
swans.
what I was imagining. He was whipping them. They were humans.
There's a better way. We can chain them inside the boat and have them row. No, this is much better.
But actually, this reminds me of Roman history as well. It's like, you know, you get the
There we
generals.
go.
I didn't bring it up.
Sorry, but you get Roman generals who actually try to become emperors. Because that's why actually, you know, at some point, the Romans, they had to the Roman emperors had to make sure that the army was happy, because they would sometimes try to, you know.
Well, it was the army that made the emperor.
Greg, you're on.
Foment insurrection and that sort of thing. Like at some, you know, I'm just saying, like you had military leaders who became emperors at some point, and that wasn't always the case before. And with Farazan, at least we know that he's a battle commander who sort of has fought in wars in the East and that sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, he's like the original Stannis, I guess. It's like, yeah, he's the guy who
Whoa.
No, but
Jeez.
Greg, you're on.
You're taking down the Romans and Stannis, everything? No, I understand what you're saying, yeah, but I mean, Caesar was a battle-tested commander, and he basically had the loyalty of his troops, which allowed him to take the city and to start the civil wars. But still, I mean, it didn't really pay for him in the end.
Yeah, but it wasn't always like that. I guess it's the influence of the army over the emperor was you know, in Roman times was different. I guess in the later years it would be
the army that literally proclaimed the emperor. If the army proclaimed you imperator, that was like the first step. Like, hey, the army proclaimed me, I'm emperor now. But chances are you had 3 other people doing the same thing in Civil War. Yeah.
But here it's obviously not quite that, but still, like his reputation as a battle commander was probably what many people.
We don't know. He didn't really do. He went. We'll get to it in
No,
the next
I think
section,
it was
but he
just
didn't
the
actually
might of
fight.
the Numenorians that like. They came up against Sauron, and Sauron was like, "Oh shit," and like bending the knee, and then.
Let's get there now, because we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But, so now we'll get to the part where Farazan and Sauron meet across a crowded field and lock eyes and stars spin. So
do I read this one? Or
yeah,
who?
Matthew, do you want to read this one, and then Shane, you can do the last one.
Sure, I'll do this one. So let's see. After Pharazôn ascended to the throne, he was eager for war and to show off his power. Rumor of Sauron's might reached him, and he gathered all the forces of Numenor in a great host and sailed for Middle-earth, or me. He landed at Umbar, which was a mighty haven of the Numenorians. He marched his great host along the coasts towards Sauron and sent forth heralds. He summoned Sauron to him, and Sauron came and humbled himself before Pharazôn. Pharazôn brought Sauron back to Numenor as a hostage, but in a short time Sauron grew to become one of Pharazôn's most trusted advisors. He fooled everyone except Amandiel, leader of the faithful. Sauron preached openly against the Varley and whispered lies to Pharazôn of Melkor, Lord of Darkness, giver of freedom, Lord of all. Pharazôn was taken in by his lies and began to worship the dark. During his time, the faithful withdrew to the easternmost port of Romena and prepared in secret to depart from Numenor if that time came. Elendil, Amandiel's son, and his two sons, Isildur and Anarion, were the lords of the faithful. When they believed that Sauron was about to convince Pharazôn to destroy Nimloth the White Tree, Isildur snuck into the guarded temple and stole a fruit from the tree, taking away many wounds in his escape, and brought it back to the faithful. This tree would eventually become the first white tree of Gondor. Soon after Pharazôn felled the white tree, and Sauron built a great temple in the city of Armenelos, where he burned the white tree and made sacrifices to the Dark Lord. Eventually Sauron began to make human sacrifices, mostly of the faithful, to Morgoth as well. Through the workings and deceivings of Sauron, Pharazôn grew to become the mightiest tyrant that had yet been in the world since the reign of Morgoth. So, yeah, not a pretty
I'm going to say that you read a different language than your own better than I read my own language, and I hate you for that.
Well,
but well done.
It's like, yeah.
That's high praise.
When you study exclusively in English, you sort of learn to speak...
No, I did. Okay with that shit.
Oh, okay. No, it's yeah. So apparently Sauron just, he's the smarter guy. He doesn't actually engage him.
Well, we have to remember at this point he's like beautiful to behold. He's a smooth talker. He's telling Pharazôn everything he wants to hear, how great he is, and he's like, by the way, there's this other guy who's super cool and is more powerful than Valar, and you should pray to him.
Why is he doing that? I don't really understand what Sauron's allegiance to Morgoth is at this point. Like, why is he so...
He's like his best friend or whatever. It's like, yeah, he's my friend. Like, he's a cool dude. Like, he's into weird shit, but
Matthew,
so
just one sec. I'm getting like a weird reverb on your... Are you moving your mic, or is there something on your end? No, Barrick, sorry.
No, I'm not doing anything.
It seems... Do anyone else hear that, or is it just me?
I hear it. It's like a...
It sounds like something scraping on a table, or...
I'm not doing anything.
Me?
I'm not touching my...
It might be me.
It's probably Matt. He's probably...
Yeah.
Oh, it seems... I thought it was when Matt...
It's probably me.
We had too many Matts on this podcast.
All right, I'm just going to call you Barrick from now on.
Hey,
All right, yeah, so if you're not talking, then just try to... If it's coming from you, I didn't know who it was coming from. All right.
Well, Sauron may or may not have been still loyal to Morgoth, but he used Morgoth to seduce the Pharazôn.
Right. I guess if he was like, I'm the Lord of Darkness, he would have been like, oh, well, I fucking captured your ass, bitch. And he's like, oh, shit, you're right.
And he did it, according to in our time, in about a week and a half.
Not even. He walked up and said, Sauron, and Sauron came.
Yeah. And
it was like he was there for 3 years.
I admit that I'm sort of like, I respect the guy who knows his own limitations, and Sauron definitely recognized that
it wasn't time yet. They have the line about it, like, look upon my works and trembles, and that's what he pretty much did.
Well, I was talking about when I took him back to Numenor. He was there for 3 years before he went from hostage to chief advisor.
Yeah, before.
But he said that even his mightiest servants were no match for the Numenorians, which means that the Ullari or the Nazgul or whatever weren't actually a match.
Were they Nazgul yet?
Yeah, they were, because they had they mentioned that he...
3 of them were Numenorians, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, at some point, Sauron had laid siege to Rivendell, or had that not happened yet? That was when they were battling in Eriador, so I assume that already happened, right?
that's not happened yet, I guess.
That was later on, though, I thought.
Yeah,
still
that
hanging
had
out
to
with
be
Gil-galad
later
way
on because he just cast, the Rings of Power.
Oh, that's later on. That's the third. That's more
Yeah.
the third age. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dumbass.
No, it's end of second age, but still.
Excuse me, Shane.
This is so simple.
Dumbass.
I just picture this as like Aladdin and like Sauron's Jafar. He's like got this staff.
That's what he looks like. If you look at the illustrations of Sauron from this time, he kind of does look like Jafar.
Oh, does he? Maybe it's like the Egyptian thing, like going over the top in my head, but
Is a Nazgul a little parrot?
so what?
Apu the monkey?
Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah.
Alright.
God.
What? Sauron? Whatever. That's.
You know what kind
What?
of blew my mind in this chapter? Isildur's a hero.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he is.
he's
Oh,
totally
big
a
time.
hero. By the end, is no hero anymore. Like
Well,
when
he never does anything bad. He just the
He
ring
takes
seduces
Ring of
him and doesn't
Power.
allow him to
Just that.
destroy it. But he never used it for evil purpose.
No,
Right.
but
Kinda
like,
covets.
the film version pretty much like he looks pretty evil when he
Yeah.
takes it.
Oh, well then.
That's kind of my main influence for my idea of Isildur. But yeah, that's not really.
The only mistake he made was just keeping the ring, and it's not like they knew that throwing the ring in would like. I guess Elrond was like, "Throw the ring in." He's like, "No, keep it." And they didn't
And
know.
like you can't blame him for being.
I believe his
Elrond
exact
and
words were,
Círdan.
Isildur, cast it into the fire. I'm pretty sure he knew he was supposed to throw it into the fire.
No.
Did you say Elrond and Círdan? Círdan wasn't there. Get out of here. He's still sitting by the
Círdan
wall.
was there in the book.
was-
He was there in the
That's-
books.
Círdan
Yeah,
was at
He
the,
was off
he was there.
screen.
at
He was
the
off
back.
screen in the movie.
He was.
You can see Gil-galad in the movie because you can see the guy with the spear. I don't know if you see Círdan, but you can definitely see.
No, you don't see
Gil-galad.
Círdan in the movies at
There's
all.
I've got a book called Weapons and Warfare of Middle Earth from the movies.
Oh, yeah, I
And
have
there's,
that.
yeah, it's got you can see Gil-galad and you can see Elendil, not Elendil. Yeah, Elendil.
Yeah, Lindell.
They cast him and show him.
But to get back to where just because
Back to the
I'm
serious
just
discussion.
trying to figure
But
out.
hold on. I'm right.
You're right.
Good for you, Matt.
Which
Moving
point?
on.
What did he say?
I just want to make that straight.
2 for 2.
Okay.
Did you realize it was you making the noise?
Yep.
Oh,
Fucking asshole.
It was me.
oh my God!
It's actually just been the ice cubes of his cup,
Like-
clinking
like-
the entire time.
I suspected as much.
Like, to me, the only thing that I don't really get is that they all know that he's sort of like that he's like the devil of the equivalent of that. So at some point, like even if they see him as a fair looking and persuasive figure, they have to at least know. Oh yeah, he's probably doing that for his own advantage, right? It's like.
Like
But he's
what are you
feeding
talking about?
he's feeding them into what they've already been grumbling about for 1,000 years, and there's no
Yeah.
reason for them to. It's easier for them to go along with that than to do
Yeah.
what the faithful did, which is fight them every step of the way and basically be cast onto human sacrifices. So it's
So the moral is, if the devil's ever agreeing with you, you might want to rethink your stance.
Right.
Yeah.
glad we figured that out.
It's weird that Isildur is like takes many wounds in his escape with the fruit. It's like, were they guarding it that closely? If they just
Yeah.
wanted it dead anyway?
Yeah.
Because right before that,
Huh.
Sauron wanted them to destroy it, so I guess
Yeah.
he's like, no, not yet. We can't destroy it, but
It's
So
still
been
his property.
disappeared, I guess. So
They're
been
not gonna-
disappeared.
But no, that's interesting because why would it be guarded so strongly that he'd take so many wounds?
he didn't
They
want
probably
anyone
still
else to
like
kill it.
Even if they don't want it, they covet it. I mean, it's theirs.
Yeah.
They're greedy.
But he was in
I like
disguise,
it.
so they didn't know who it was him anyway. So it's like, yeah. I mean, but they would probably if somehow like Amandia said, oh yeah, my son, he's
Yeah,
he's just in some wounds and stuff like that. They might say, oh shit, that was him. But I suspect they would. I just trying to figure out how Amandia would cover this up essentially, because it's like, yeah, my son is at home bleeding to death. That's just a normal occurrence there apparently.
So, like, Isildur is Aladdin, and this fruit he steals is the forbidden fruit
Stop
of Princess Jasmine.
How does he carry that in his pocket?
And
He has a
fruit-
flying
Boo.
carpet, doesn't he? Where's the flying carpet part?
The fruit is the magic lamp or whatever. I don't
No,
know.
the fruit is jasmine, the forbidden fruit.
Oh, so Boo.
Come on.
Help.
All right.
So
Yeah.
you don't think you guys? Okay.
Wrap up
okay,
the Aladdin talk. Let's go.
I'll step back. I'll step back on my Aladdin.
All right. I was looking forward to doing the comparison between the building of Sauron's temple. Wait, are we not
Oh,
there
yeah.
yet? Or that was in this section, right? Where Sauron built this
Mhm.
temple. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the way they describe the building of the temple, the 50 by 500, like that's almost not in the measurements, but it's very reminiscent of like the description that God gives, and as I think it's the Book of Kings about building the temple in Jerusalem.
Okay.
So I thought that was a nice little connection.
Oh well.
But
Yeah.
building
Sure.
for evil purposes.
Yeah. For sacrifices
It will
and
be
that
this
sort
many cubits and this many cubits.
It's a good thing Tolkien isn't into allegory.
What's a cubit?
of. But yeah, I mean, you said that when you reread the section of the book that you were very disappointed in the Numenorians. Like, to me, this is where that is shown at its
Yeah, when it starts getting
Because
into like
they-
the decline of the Roman Empire, and they're just like fucking in the streets and burning people, and everything's going down.
No, that's not how it happened.
What?
Yo, you missed the part where it said they were fucking in the streets? Oh, I'm sorry. That's just my book.
No, I just assumed that at some point, it's just like, when something implodes, like at some point it's just like you look at it from the outside, you don't see that it's actually going to, and then at some point it just crumbles. Like, yeah, it's just very silent and non epic, I guess. That would be what the end of the Roman Empire was actually. This wasn't like some big epic showdown. Like, okay, they had barbarian invasions at the end as well, but then it took a long time to get there. It's like it's not actually.
Well, yeah, the Roman Empire never actually just like crumbled. It was the barbarians sacked it, and then they're like, hey, we kind of like it here. They just kind of became Romans.
Yeah, it's
And
just
then
like
in the west, and
And
the east, it was
when
fine.
were they fucking the streets?
That was like the 3rd, 4th century. When,
Oh, really?
Like, everything was really.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, if you read Juvenal, like all his plays are just like making fun of like the upper class and how just all they do is just screw everything up.
Yeah,
And then there was, that was like the last good time, but not that it was a good time.
yeah.
Anyway.
But
Are the
I
good
guess human
times
sacrifices are
over?
not part of
Yes.
the Roman.
I mean, as
Hey,
long as
Varric,
there's
I don't think if you heard this, but
consensual
I'm the one
fucking
that's
in the
supposed to make the
streets.
Roman connections here. You've made enough Roman connections today. You
Oh,
gotta
okay.
tone it down a little bit.
Let's make Greek connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are those Greeks then?
I don't want to talk about the Greeks. Let's talk about the New
Yeah.
Do you guys think it's weird to me to make a human sacrifice that's not really a sacrifice? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're sacrificing a slave, is it really a sacrifice?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, those are worth a lot of money.
It's like, I don't know.
Just
It's
get
like
more.
how would you be able to say, well, if I sacrifice a goat, I don't care about the goat, but I'm sacrificing it. So it's is it like, yeah, does that not count as a sacrifice? I'm not sure.
I
Like,
really think it doesn't.
You're killing an animal.
Depends how you feel about the
instead of
goat.
a deity, and
Right,
then
like if-
it's like,
No, but human sacrifices are not like goats. And
No,
they're
no,
not
that's
like
not
what I'm
sons.
saying. I'm
saying-
Usually
saying
they're like
if you
slaves.
sacrifice an animal and it still counts as sacrifice, you can be damn sure that if you sacrifice a person, it's going to be a sacrifice.
No, but I think the difference is between like a human sacrifice, like the Aztecs used to do,
Mhm.
compared to like what Abraham was about to do to his son.
That's like
Oh,
the
you mean-
difference
oh,
I'm
yeah.
making. Like, is
You mean
it
that
really
the
a
victim
sacrifice?
the victim has to be willingly going to it, you mean?
Well,
No,
not
I mean-
necessarily, but
If
it
it's
has to
someone you care
mean
about.
something. Yeah, it's just killing people just to kill people and say it's a sacrifice. I don't really think it
Well,
counts.
depends on the god you're sacrificing to.
Oh,
I
you
guess.
mean like that?
Well,
It's not a
depends.
sacrifice if you don't care about them.
Oh, okay.
Well, if
Mm.
it's an evil spirit, you're saying this guy just wants the death. That's the offering, is the act of
So,
killing. Then that's fine.
I think you're
Okay,
equivalent
so
to
like it's like I'm gonna
Hmm.
kill 3 innocents, and you killing innocents is like a sacrifice of their innocence, that
Right,
kind of
like
thing.
I wouldn't sacrifice. I'm sure they wouldn't sacrifice humans to Eru because he wouldn't want that. But Morgoth probably be like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well,
Whatever.
Morgoth's
Would?
never gonna see
I
it.
got
Would he?
today.
If he could, he would.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just like Sauron seeing how far he could push and be like, "Yeah, kill those people. You really killed those fucking people."
Yeah, I kind of got a feeling like
Yeah,
that too.
You know what you should do? You should sail west right to Valinor and tell them you're
Yeah.
better than them.
It's like, yeah, he's basically like, I guess if we got his point of view, we might say, oh shit, we might read something like, oh shit, I didn't think they'd actually do it. It's like, yeah, okay, these are really big pushovers. But that's also something like really like they're so, I mean, they're just so suggestible. It's not even
I wonder
I know
why.
it's actually kind of pathetic that they're so afraid of death that they're willing to do literally anything like to stay alive forever or whatever. It's really
I wonder why he didn't wield this Numenorian weapon against the elves. Like, if he could really kind of get them to do what he wanted them to do.
Well, they didn't
Why
have anything they wanted. They couldn't make
Sauron
them
didn't?
immortal. Oh,
Huh?
I thought you were talking about the Numenorians.
Well, if he could like get him to do what he wanted, basically, why not like turn him at the elves?
I think,
Well, he hated
I think
them.
what
Why
he
would
wanted
why
was-
would he be like elves? You have unlimited life.
What?
Don't you want not that?
Well,
No,
Brett's talking
Because
about
I mean that's what he does to the men.
he's going to convince the Numenorians to attack the elves.
And why wouldn't he do that? Is what I'm saying.
Would
He just like sends them straight to Valinor instead of where
I
you
think
know they're gonna
Sauron
get.
is looking far ahead, and I honestly think he knows that the Numenorians are probably more a threat in the long run than the elves because they have these amazing ships and these huge armies, and basically he's trying to get them out of the picture, and then he can take care of the elves. That's what he thinks.
Right. The
Because
elves
what
aren't
is
that
he always
strong.
afraid of? Even in the Third Age, he's terrified of the heir of Numenor coming forward and fucking him up because that's the one people that can still do that. And even when he sends Pharazôn off and to kill himself, what's he doing? He's back at the island, making still like doing
Laughing.
his thing. Yeah, exactly, cackling to himself because
Alright,
that
fair
was
enough.
his goal.
He just-
Maybe
But
that's
we're
what
not
it
like-
was.
underestimated the
Greg.
reaction he would get.
Let's just talk about Pharazôn for a minute. So Pharazôn apparently is the second biggest tyrant of the whole history of this world. Apparently,
Yeah, according
So,
to
like, well done. You get a gold star.
So he was more of a tyrant than Sauron.
Yeah, I guess. And it's because like
Up
you
till
know
this
he
point,
beats
I guess.
Sauron's advice, but still it's like he has the power as decision making. So it's like Sauron can advise stuff.
He
But he
was
hasn't actually
because
any
Sauron
authority
was-
there.
That
He
is
was
a pretty
because
bold
Sauron was
statement.
his submissive.
And isn't he the one that starts like taking taxes from Middle Earth?
Yeah,
Well, it
tribute.
Tribute.
says that Pharazôn grew to become the mightiest tyrant that had yet been in the world since the reign of Morgoth.
Yeah.
Sauron hadn't really come into
Yeah.
his
Oh
full
yeah, he
power
had
yet.
his own. Yeah, good point.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah,
it's,
but instead of being like teachers and like learners, they started taxing people, right?
Yeah, not
yeah,
more
and
as-
invading people. They start also kidnapping men from Middle Earth and sacrificing them. So it's like that's
I imagine
not.
the men of Middle Earth being like the men at the beginning of Planet of the Apes.
It's like the guys that the Rohirrim come across. Remember, it was Gan, like the cavemen living in the forest,
Yeah.
banging
Mhm.
drums.
Yeah,
Just
the-
doing their own thing, eating fruit in the woods. And
No,
these
they're
guys come
the
in.
These guys come along and sacrifice you or whatever. It's like
was
really,
it the Men of Bree?
It's like really rude.
Bree was civilized. They had like inns and stuff at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, after
But,
how
like-
many thousands of years?
Yeah.
But I think in like Fellowship of the Rings, they were like the men like all the kingdoms left, and they came back and still found Bree there, or something. Yeah.
Bree was actually there already. Like
Yeah.
Butterbur's great grandfather's there now.
Yeah, living with hobbits.
Maybe
I
all
don't
men
want
were-
no
and small
trouble in
folk.
my place.
Maybe all men were just hobbits, and then the Numenorians came and bred with them and made normal height people.
How does that
That's a
explain the
theory.
hairy feet?
Huh?
How does that
The
explain
Numenorians
hairy
bred it out of them.
All right.
Numenorians are very
Jesus
unhairy
Christ.
people.
So who
assumed
was
this
the man and who was the woman?
All right.
Numenor is a shitty place.
It depends if they were a man or a woman.
All right. Let's get to the end.
A hobbit could never bear a Numenorian child. It'd be too big.
Sure not.
It'd be like a bulldog. It would be too big. You'd have to do cesarean.
All right.
So
All
it
right. I'm
looked
going
like,
to put a
Vinnie
moratorium
Jones?
on this subject.
Yeah.
And we're
Might have
gonna
to talk about Amandiel as well because he's very important to.
Well, he's going to
uh,
feature in the last. We've mentioned him, but he's going to. We'll get into him.
Mm.
I'm really
Yeah.
hearing that again. Is anyone else hearing that? I can't. I still
Yes, I hear it.
Just who doesn't hear it? Because that's probably who it's coming from.
It just,
I hear it.
It's probably me.
All right. Are you doing anything, or is it just your mic?
I'm holding my mic in front of my face.
I don't know. It's weird.
You got like a microphone, like a singer?
Yeah.
Just twirling it like
That's
Roger
me.
Daltrey. All right, stop twirling your mic and you'll be fine.
You're
Feel
such
like
a
a
diva,
you know,
Matt.
game show.
All right, no worries. We're almost done anyway. It's not that bad. Yeah. So during this time, let's see where I am here. All right, Amandil hasn't left for his thing. He does that in the next. All right, we're good to go to the next section.
Yeah.
This covers the big
Well,
last chunk.
Let's finish this shit. I don't go to bed.
All right. I think we're moving at a good clip. We've only actually been recording for about an hour, even though it says 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Well, that's how long I've been here, but
Yeah.
yeah, hour and 18 minutes is as long as I've been here. Roll. Let's go.
All right.
You
Shane.
have not been here for 2 hours and 18 minutes.
I didn't say that. I said 1 hour and 18 minutes.
Oh my
As
god.
the years
We can't count anymore.
Hush up.
We're worse than Numenorian.
Settle.
As the year-
Settle. All right, come on, Shane.
All right, go.
As the years passed, Farazan grew older. Sauron convinced him to defy the Valar openly and to sail his fleet
Sauron?
west. Yes.
Hey, shut up. Let him
Sauron.
read. Go.
Let him roll
Is
his
he
R's if he wants.
Espanol?
I'm doing the Gandalf pronunciation. Sauron.
With
You,
the
you play
Spanish
once, you gotta roll all your R's,
arre?
Shane.
Arre?
I want to hear
Sauron.
Farazan.
Sauron.
As the years passed, well, that's
I
Irish.
want you to be a good
Scottish.
boy.
As the years
Christ, what's
passed,
that?
and Farazan grew older, Sauron convinced him to defy the Valar openly and to sail his fleet west and take the Undying Lands by force of arms and right of conquest. While Farazan marshaled his forces, Mindil gathered his people in Romena, and had them prepare for a quick departure east. He then attempted to follow Erindil and find his way to the Undying Lands and seek forgiveness of men and deliverance for Sauron. He sailed west and was never heard from again. During this time, the Valar set storms and eagle-shaped clouds as well as lightning and earthquakes to warn the Numenorians of their folly, but they mostly ignored these signs. Eventually, Farazan set sail in his great fleet west and broke the ban of the Valar. The fleet sailed to Arasia and to the shores of Valinor itself. At the last minute, Farazan almost put his pride overtook him and he strode onto the shore of the Undying Lands. Manwë and the Valar laid down their government of Arda, and the full power of Ilúvatar was shown. A great chasm was opened in the sea, and the ships of the Numenorians were swallowed into the abyss. Farazan and his forces are drowned, buried in the falling earth. The island of Numenor was destroyed by tidal waves and earthquakes and sank into the sea. Sauron perished atop his temple, but his soul passed back into me and returned to Mordor. Again, able to take a fell. The 9 ships of the faithful and eventually came to me along with the 7 stones, parentheses Palantiri, in parentheses, the White Tree. They founded the kingdoms of Gondor and Anor in the years ahead. After the destruction of Numenor, the Undying Lands and Arasia were removed from the physical world, and the world was made round. But those of the Eldar who still wished to could take the straight road and find their way to Valinor, where they weary of me.
You got from Spanish to Scottish.
He went all over the place.
I don't give a shit. That was the best. I can tell you got a
this is the best.
fangirl
That's the
now.
best thing ever.
And now we all have to talk in that accent for the rest of the recording.
Shane.
That was my Gandalf. What are you talking about?
That sounded like Dracula on a good day.
Wow. Greg, you were pretty sassy with the Romena thing. That was.
Well, he was rolling his R. That's a good R to roll.
Yeah, but you sassed it out there. I was surprised I didn't hear you snap your fingers.
I did. You didn't hear that? Romana.
2 snaps, a twist, and something else. And a kiss.
That was really awesome.
I just liked how every time you said Farazan, you got more and more into it. It's like Farazan.
And then he appeared like Beetlejuice.
Get out of here, Farazan.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, what an ignominious end for Farazan, I guess.
I'm glad we had you read the last one because that was like the culmination of this episode.
Oh my god.
We shouldn't even talk about it. We should just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah. Yeah. My face
No, I
hurts
guess we
from
have to talk about
laughing.
it. Our listeners, like the 3 listeners that we have, are probably very, very anxious to know.
I like that Valar sent storms and eagle-shaped clouds as well as lightning and
You mean
earth.
Valar?
So like, what the fuck is this? Whatever.
Well, they did say that people would
Yeah.
quail and shake and then forget about it. It's like,
Yeah, don't they also send the eagles themselves at some point? Like,
Well, I was
they're flying in
confused.
one
I was
line.
confused about that because I think they say the people said the eagles of Manwë have come, but that's because of the clouds. I don't think at any point did they send the eagles, unless
Yeah, and they just use it like as a point in their favor, where they say, oh well, they did it first, they struck first, so we have to strike back. It's like
that doesn't remind me of any other wars in history that worked out so well.
I love the fact that the Valar were like, fuck it, Iluvatar, you're up. And he's like, kaboom! Fucking change shit.
Boom.
Yeah, actually, just before I read the Silmarillion, I knew things, but, not all the details. And this is what I thought basically the end of the First Age was. The First Age really didn't change the world. This is what changed the world, like halfway through the Second Age.
Well, no, the First Age sunk.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about after the world was sort of more or less
physical,
formed.
yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. The shape of the world got, it got actually... No, it was made round, so...
This kind of contradicts the whole... The Undying Lands are really on Earth thing. Because they're not really anymore.
Valinor moved away from
they're
Earth,
not
though.
anymore, but they used to be.
They're on a different
you have
plane
to fly
of
to it
existence.
now.
Yeah. The straight road is there for those who can see it.
They're living behind the moon.
Or who are allowed to go see it.
Right. But this is like the only... Like, every other instance of the Eagles are coming has always been a good thing. Like, they're rescuing the Battle of Five Armies. They're coming in at the end of the Third Age, and this is like the only time that eagles are a bad thing for them, at least. Like, it's the eagles is a warning rather than a rescue, which is a pretty important difference.
Well, the warning is their rescue. Like, they're trying to rescue them from making a stupid mistake, and they just don't care.
They're too far gone.
Yeah.
Even when like the mountain that has never spewed smoke and flame out before it turns into a volcano. Like, I hope there's like one guy there who's like, all right, guys, I think we got to tone it back a little bit.
And still, our Pharazôn's like, I think we got this. Let's go take the Valar. It's like, are you kidding me? Clearly, it's been 3,000 years since they saw the work of the Valar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The lords of the West have plotted against us. They strike first. The next blow shall be ours. These words the king himself spoke, but they were devised by Sauron.
And it sounds to me like Pharazôn. In disguise. They're still stuck under the ground, so they're imprisoned, right?
Yeah, they're alive. Well, kind of alive.
Yeah, that
like
line really... I underlined like that whole thing where it says, but our Pharazôn the king and the mortal warriors that had set foot upon the land of Ammon were buried under falling hills. There it is said that they lie imprisoned in the caves of the Forgotten until the last battle and the day of doom.
So last battle means like when Malcolm gets rid of his chains and comes,
Right, because we know he was working on that before he died, about the return of the shadow and all that.
Which side do you think they're going to fight on if they come back?
Yeah, they're going to fight at some... who are they going to fight, though? That's the question.
That's what I'm saying.
I thought then they'd get to die, finally.
Yeah.
When the world is broken.
Maybe they'll be like the ghosts from...
come on. Yeah, like the
goats?
The ghost from Dunharrow, you mean?
Yeah, that Aragorn sort of like brings back and lets them reclaim their honor. That'd be cool.
Yeah, or maybe they're going to fight for Melkor, who they've worshipped all their lives. Yeah.
Well, no, I think they're going to get the Ragnarok kind of thing. Because
Ragnarok?
they say...
Ragnarok, you mean?
What did I say?
Keep going.
Yeah. Anyway, where like the final battle that'll break the world, they say that many times.
Yeah. I think it's weird because they like wanted eternal life, and they're like, all right, you can live eternally, you just can't move or say anything or do anything.
Yeah, until the world is broken, or until the final battle.
Which is like kind of what the humans are being saved for, or what?
I'm not sure. I don't. I mean,
nobody really knows, but.
But the thing that I find really interesting is that despite everything that he's done before, he's still like, when he's actually there, he still doubts for a second. He wants to turn back and he doesn't. It's like, no, you should have done that. But
it was too late anyway. I mean, it's like they laid siege. They didn't lay, but like when I can picture the ships coming across Erisea and everybody be like, oh shit, this is not good. And since they like overtook them, and like it's super sad that this happened, but like at the same time, like I always blame Sauron and everything, but they were complaining about this all the way back, 1,000 years before Sauron even showed up.
No,
it's kind of funny.
Sauron couldn't do anything that they weren't willing to do themselves, because if they were not willing to engage in human sacrifices and worshipping becoming Satanists essentially. It's like they wouldn't. He wouldn't be able to achieve that if they weren't willing to listen and to act on it. Right? That's the. because they were so afraid of dying. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, now the whole civilization is gone forever. It's like, yeah, come on.
You know, I guess the Iluvatar kind of knew what was going to happen beforehand, but the
Oh, yeah.
Valar kind of got to be like, all right, the elves are our guys. They're good. They won't screw it up. Oh shit, the elves screwed it up. All right, the men, these are our guys for real this time. Oh shit, they
Yeah.
screwed it up.
Hopefully the dwarves will do well when their turn
The
comes.
dwarves are the stepchildren. It's the hobbits.
But the dwarves, they have
It's the
actually,
hobbits.
the dwarves have never messed up this bad. Like they've
No, I
never.
Well, they
the
haven't had
hobbits,
the ability
Are the hobbits
to.
the third children of Iluvatar? I just realized that. Or they're just...
No, they're related to men actually.
No, they're
I know,
men that
I
haven't
know,
been
I
bred
know.
by the Numenorians, right? Yeah.
But how is it that the men? It seems like I guess the second age really isn't the men's age, but they talk about the end of the third age. And
Well, the
now
fourth
after the
age
end of
would
the
be
third
the
age,
dominion
the
of
fourth age
men.
is the time for men. But it's kind of like the men kind of got a shot here. Some of them.
Oh, they got a shot.
Well, no,
They
they
conquered
have
the
all
world,
the shots.
and still they weren't happy with it. They just wanted to enjoy the advantages of both the first and second children of Iluvatar. It's like, yeah, well.
Do you think the Valar
don't
kind of?
do that.
Do you think the Valar kind of really effed it up for the elves? Like they should have already had like their kingdoms established on Middle Earth, but the Valar came over and like pulled them all away, and then let them come back, then pulled them all away again.
Oh, you mean like back at the beginning when they first took them over?
Right. Like I
Well,
know
they
they
did
took them
that to
over to
protect
protect
them,
them from
yeah.
Morgoth. I get that, but they could have just protected them from Morgoth.
Well, they
Yeah.
tried to. They did.
That's
Yeah, I know. The best
Well,
laid
the
plans.
Valar aren't infallible. They're not like Iluvatar.
yeah,
Is
that's a
Iluvatar
stupid
infallible?
like free will shit.
There is no free will in this.
Stupid free will.
Yeah,
Hated making my own choices. No, it's still like just the I like the idea also of, you know, you said that Sauron was looking ahead, but basically he wasn't, because if he did, he would have understood that this was what was going to happen.
No, he
Because-
just
Well,
underestimated
nobody
the
would have-
response.
Nobody knew this was coming.
No,
The Valar must have stepped back and been like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. No, but it's like, no, but there is something to be said about the idea that, you know, if they had managed to not listen to Sauron at all, then everything, like even the Third Age, might not have happened as it did in the story. So it's like, yeah, they probably would have kept Sauron prisoner forever, and nothing would have. I mean, nothing bad would have ever happened again. So it's
He
like,
would
yeah,
have killed someone and gotten out.
Because this wasn't the Valar. This was the Iluvatar, right?
yeah.
Like even the end of the first age with Morgoth, Iluvatar never,
No, that was the Valar. Yeah.
knocked
Yeah.
this shit down.
It's always
No,
been
it
So
a
this like had to be like the greatest. You would imagine this has to be like the greatest sin committed since.
Yeah, because
you know,
they were
creation.
worshipping like Melkor instead of, you know, Iluvatar.
You
and,
come into my house, to my house.
I don't even think the biggest issue was they were worshiping Melkor. I don't really know why he came down on them. So like he could have just killed them
because
or
they,
wiped them off, but he
because
like
they-
made an example of them. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, it's because they got, you know, they got all these special things, like, you know, they got their own place to live, they got to be, you know, kings of the world and that sort of thing, and they still weren't happy, and they didn't heed the most important the most important order that the Valas gave them, like to not go into the Undying Lands.
But Iluvatar gave them
That's the
none of
worst thing that that's the one thing they could not have and should not have done. That's you know, sacred.
that. I guess I just don't understand. I don't understand why they care. I mean, if they want to all come here and grow old
No,
and
you know
die
what
real
that
quick,
really cares. That's the thing.
do you know what I
It's
mean?
like-
Like,
because
That's their choice.
Iluvatar gave men the gift of death, and
They threw it back into space.
yeah, and that is their gift or their doom. Like they can't hit the Undying Lands, and Sauron told them that, oh, like you, High King, best of everyone, why should you not die?
I get that, but why not just be like, all right, you want to go to the Undying Lands? Go ahead. And then they just get old and die real quick. And then I bet you nobody else would be trying to go to the Undying Lands.
Well, it's also
Well, they would never
it's like
come
his
back. They
his
would've-
experiment has failed. You know, these are the best people,
Right.
And if these people do this, then anyone else is going to be even worse. So
But they
it's
had
almost like a reset.
they weren't the way he made them, though. Like, the Valar gave them things and gave them extra life. I mean, that stuff wasn't from Iluvatar.
Well, of course it was, because it was
It's all
from
from
Valor. It's
Iluvatar.
all from Iluvatar.
Well,
Oh,
Valar-
Jesus Christ. All right.
Valar
No,
comes
it's not for
from
him. He's not in this story. Jeez.
But do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, this seems
I get it.
very, very extreme for him
Oh,
to
yeah,
just
that-
be like, all right,
Yeah.
fuck it, we're starting over round this time.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
I hate all
like,
these rough edges.
that's like, that's what I mean when I say, it looks like the flood from the Bible and that sort of thing. It's like in that story also, like God says, okay, well, these people have sinned so much, I need to start over. So it's like, yeah, take it, flooded everything, and then we create a new world or whatever. That's what this is. It's like, well, there's no reason to believe that it's going to be that different, but at the very least, there's no chance of them ever being tempted again to change their own nature. Like they're not now bound forever to be mortal without ever hoping to.
Well, they
get
were
to
before.
Undying.
Nothing changed.
No,
yeah,
now
and Noah's a
they can't
drunk.
reach the Undying Lands anymore. Like the physical world. Now the Undying Lands have been taken out of the world.
Taken out of the picture, right? You can't go there now. But it's just like it just seems so extreme for something so simple. Like all the bad ones, they left. They were going there, and they could have just died there, and that would have been it for them. And then you cleanse the world of the worst ones, and you would have been okay. But no, he's
but
like,
that's not how apparently
Everyone pays for the
these
sins of the few.
these deities think like people learn a lesson. People only learn a lesson when they have like unnecessary losses, and that's that's when there is unnecessary suffering. Then people probably rethink their position. But
He
yeah,
gave the Numenorians one rule. Said this is the rule. You
Well,
can
the
do human
Valar gave him the
sacrifice. Which I guess the Valar did, or the
but
Ilúvatar.
they got it probably from Ilúvatar. They are probably
Could
the
be.
best place
They let him
sources.
do human sacrifice. They let him worship Morgoth. He never did shit. He said, "Don't come here." That's the rule. They came there.
I get
Yeah.
it, but just punish the ones that went there. Instead, they punished the entire
did.
civilization.
You're
minus-
hoping
They
for a
did
just
all-
God. You're
minus
assuming
9
he's a
ships.
just God. There's no.
Well, it's like it's like saying they all engaged in it. It's just because the people who went to the Undying Lands were the able-bodied men who were able to fight, but Ilúvatar punished all of them because the remaining Numenorians believed the same things in a sense, but it doesn't justify it. It's just that I guess that's what his reasoning was.
Yeah, I suppose. It just seems like he's like the dad watching TV, Ilúvatar is, and then like all the kids are making noise and playing, he's just ignoring it, and then like
And then he kills his children.
well, no, and then a kid gets hurt, and he's just like, all right, everybody's getting fucking punished, and like he just flies off the handle. It's like, if you just like maybe parented a little bit before now, you wouldn't have had to make this big decision now.
Well,
Hey,
he did.
He works all day.
parent
He's
a little
tired.
bit.
He wants to watch TV.
Did he work all day? He worked once. Okay, he's like,
He worked
let
one
Ar-
very long day.
let
way
Arda
back
be.
in the beginning.
I
and
don't know
it-
how long that day was. That could have
I know.
been 10
But
times
it's-
all the time period up until this point.
Right.
He's still tired.
But it's like they gave them all. I mean, they gave them so many. There's just so many warnings that you can give them, right? They sent the messengers. They had they made it pretty clear that that's not what should happen. They should probably have
And like
listened at that point.
Every
They
other
had
children,
ample
when
time
you
to
tell them
listen.
you can't do something, they'll immediately try to do something.
Yeah, they gave them all the possible breaks that they could give them, I guess. And at some point, they just said, no, we're not gonna deal with you guys anymore. Like, deal with it on your own. Like, just don't involve us. And they still try to involve the Valar at some point. It's like, yeah, what else? I mean, what could they have done in the sense the Valar were just asking like Ilúvatar to do something. Like they didn't know that this was what's going to happen, right?
No,
It's just
the lesson couldn't have been learned any other way, and it fits with what we know of Old Testament gods,
Yeah.
deities in religions. They tend to overreact than underreact.
well,
But
for all we know, he just like moved his finger, and this is what happened. So.
Yeah.
Do you want a good god, or do you want a happy god, or a vengeful god?
I mean, that was one of the things why the Valar didn't go after Morgoth right away, because they wrought so much destruction the first time they fought him. I suppose with the Ilúvatar, you take that power like times 100, and this is like the smallest thing he could do.
yeah,
He touched
Yeah.
the earth with his finger, and it turned around, and things disappeared.
And
you
at the
forget
same
this
time-
is all through the power of music too. It's all just
Yeah.
music.
See, I
and
told you, he's
he
evil.
made sure that the faithful made it to shore.
He saved the faithful. That's
Did
true.
he save them, or did?
Yeah,
No,
Yeah,
that's-
he said the great
Winds
wind
turned
blew their
into,
ships
There's a near
clear.
thing.
That's Manway, though.
It's
I
all
thought it was-
Luvatar. Everything's a Luvatar, Brett. You can't get hung down on that. It's all the big guy.
Yeah. Everything that the little guys do, the big guy has thought of first. So it's like, yeah,
And he likes
That's-
saying
carrying it
it's
out.
all part of the
wait a
music,
minute,
but
so-
everybody has their own
so-
free will.
There's no free will in this.
No,
There
there's
is.
no free will.
No, not
That's
in
the
this
whole
world. There's
point.
not.
There is. Everybody has free will.
No, but
And-
everyone in the beginning, this is all like a movie playing out. They all saw everything was going to happen. Like, he gave you a preview at the beginning, and now it's playing out. They all know what's going on.
I don't think I agree with that interpretation.
No. Well,
The song
But
Yeah.
predicted
I think
it.
there's free will. There is the possibility to make choices. It's just that in the grand scheme of things, like this is not the end of. I mean, the very big thing that.
How did Erendiel happen?
Sorry.
What? I assume
did-
his parents mated, and
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
the story of the
but,
bees
like-
and the.
That was not a like free will kind of thing.
No, because
That
they all
was-
lived under the prophecy that one day someone will come who will represent both houses. You know, it's like they all knew that only one person could do that, and like maybe they didn't know who it would be, but that was out there. So
Yeah.
there is some decision, but it seems like everyone knows all the prophecies and the dooms, and they're all living under it. I mean, this is extreme what happened to Numenorians, but not
Yeah, but within those confines, there's still possibilities to make choices in life. So otherwise, it wouldn't have
Of
gotten
course,
to
of course, yes. I don't like that. I'm just saying that's just what I thought. It seems to
feel
be
like-
less free will than more free will in this world.
the Valar are like, hey, remember in the music when they just like somebody hit all the keys? That must be coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
Dum.
All right. I think we've settled this as much as we're going to settle it. Any
So,
other
yeah,
final
the fa-
final
the-
thoughts?
The face will make it. So that's what we should. But we also forgot to mention that Amandil apparently tried to make it to the Undying Lands, and we don't know what happened.
Right.
How
He tried
did
to.
that-
He tried to.
Maybe that's why
Yeah,
they
that sucks
were
for him.
spared. Apparently, maybe that's why they were spared.
Well, we don't know that it sucks for him.
No, we don't know, but we can
He
speculate.
didn't. He didn't get to become a star.
Might have just
Yeah.
whisked away to death.
Well, maybe he
which
just didn't
doesn't
mention
sound
it.
Or maybe he just lives there, like in the Undying Lands. He was the only one.
No, we would know about that.
bad. Oh, it's not necessarily. I mean, we would never get the story of him. They don't want people to know that he can live there.
No, I don't think he made it.
What do you think happened to him?
I think he might have made it, but I don't think he was long for the world after he made it. Like, I think he would have perished of bliss, like they talk about.
He's probably
Yeah.
crashed on one of the Enchanted Isles. He's hanging out there forever.
Which I just picture like a never-ending orgasm until you die from it.
There's no orgasms in Valinor.
Sounds
Brett,
awesome.
jeez.
That's what happens. That's why the elves love to be there. And they come back and their faces are all flushed and filled with light. They're like, whew, don't go over there.
Drained.
That's why they don't have children, guys, because they're always having an orgasm without it.
There is no.
Yeah, but if you're
there's-
always having an orgasm,
It
like,
is
you're
no-
really having an orgasm.
I mean, these books. I mean, that's what I usually. That's the only point of criticism that I really. I can really see. It's like
That's the only
no,
point?
That there's not enough orgasms.
no. It's not. It's like, compared to A Song of Ice and Fire. There's. I mean, when you have like, let's say a Song of Ice and Fire is 100% like sex and everything, and here it's like
So
close.
it's not
to
a happy sex.
There's no actual.
Yeah,
like,
mostly it's rape.
Yeah.
That's the
That's
appropriate
true.
sound you're supposed to make when someone counters with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, there's lots of. I mean, but still, there's also consensual lovemaking in A Song of Ice and Fire. It's just that
The problem is
here there's. I mean, it's like these people don't actually act like human beings. Sometimes it's like because they don't engage in what human beings
That's
actually.
because they're elves.
Oh, no, these books are written for two very different generations of people. That's why that's not all in
From
here.
different sensibilities. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it would have been scandalous if he wrote about like elves banging.
Yeah, would have not been taken as seriously, I guess, if
It was
because
just off scene.
Look how long it took for it to be taken seriously without the elves banging. Think of how it would have been if it was like half smut. It wouldn't have made it.
yeah.
Go on.
No, please do not. Please do not. Let's finish this.
Don't give people ideas.
I bet you if you look for it on the internet, you can
Oh,
find
it's there. It's there.
It's all there. Like the will of Morgoth has triumphed over the internet.
All right.
Yeah,
On
fair
that
enough.
note, I think we've wrapped up Numenor pretty well. I
Yeah.
don't think we're going to convince
You
Brett
didn't want to
that
talk about
it's-
your Atlantis myth?
We already talked about it before,
Atlantis.
that they give different names to Numenor now that it's dead, and it's Akallabeth the Downfallen and Atalante in the Eldarin tongue, which is pretty much Atlantis. So
Atlantis.
had to get that in there.
I actually don't know the
see
of Atlantis that well.
for that.
I don't think is it similar to this one where it's like a civilization that's destroyed by a deity or whatever, or is it just like a flood that
There's different. I mean, it goes back. Some people say it's actually
It's an
ancient Crete
advanced civilization that gets destroyed.
I know when I played Echo the Dolphin on Sega Genesis, that
God damn it.
that yes, it was a civilization that was very far advanced,
That's right.
and it was sunk under the sea. That might have been Sega CD. I don't know.
No, I remember
Echo
that. I had that on my
now.
Sega, the handheld. What's the handheld Sega thing called?
Game
Gear.
Game Gear.
Yeah, I had that in Earthworm Jim.
Oh no.
So we went
Earthworm
from
Jim is not canon.
Atlantis to Earthworm Jim.
It is
Wonder-
not canon.
He had a
Earthworm Jim is not canon for this discussion.
All right, we got our episode title. All right.
Jesus Christ.
Stupid video game.
Well, thank you for sticking with us this long.
One more to go.
One more to go, then we're done. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling sad because it's like, this is, this has been like a whole year of nothing but Silmarillion discussions.
Yeah,
what
took
will we do?
7
Been a
It's
little
been
bit of-
over a year, friend.
Over a year. Over a year? I thought we started last year in November.
No,
but I'm not
September. August or
Oh.
September.
sure. Oh, okay.
I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if we're gonna be able to stretch this little section out that long.
But that's only because we suck at organizing during
Well,
the summer.
The show happened.
Yeah, it was Game of Thrones interrupted us. But,
Oh, yeah, that's also that's also
Yeah, we
something.
took a 5-month break.
Yeah.
All right, let me do a proper wrap up, then we can finish this. All right. Thank you for joining us.
That's a wrap up, guys.
Shane, I was really happy with your reading of that.
Thank you.
It was worth staying up this late just to hear that.
Yeah, that was just impromptu. I wasn't planning that.
Yeah,
Lies,
all day
lies.
you were like talking
I
to your
just
kids.
put the flourish on sword on, and then it inspired me.
Yeah, you were just thinking to yourself, how am I going to impress my fan? This review I didn't read.
Best recap show.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I'll have this edited sometime in the next 6 months after I edit the other ones.
It was weird because when this one was on the Akallabeth, I was like, no, it shouldn't be. What about all the other stuff? And it's just because it hasn't come out
Yeah,
yet.
I know.
No, it's fine. I'm not pushing
No,
you
I know,
into
it's
it, man.
I don't take nearly as long as some other people on the podcast, but they're not. I'm not pointing fingers.
How many you got, Stu? I got 2.
This will be 3 for me.
Swamp Thing still in the can.
Small thing. Oh,
Swamp
Swamp
Thing.
Thing? That's a long story.
Does anybody remember?
Actually, it's quite short story.
That file was corrupted. I got Starman and Penny Dreadful.
Yeah, you
Remember when we
did.
recorded a Star Wars and Peter just
didn't that get lost or something happened with the file?
well, it was a bad. It was corrupted, I guess. Like Peter said, it wasn't a good audio quality, and it didn't make it. It's too bad because I think it was really good. He was asking what he should be for like Halloween or something.
Oh, you mean when we talk for 3 hours about a 90-second trailer?
That was the one.
And now you have a 3-minute trailer. How long is the next record? What the frick are you gonna do for the movie?
Yeah, I mean, let's. Can I just say something? I'm moderately excited, but I'm not like the Uber fans who when you look at reaction videos, like I don't get teary eyed at the thought of a new Star Wars thing. I just go, another Star Wars movie.
The first trailer for it actually gave me goosebumps. It's just like the music and like seeing stuff. It gave me goosebumps, but it's not
The
like
last one really hit me hard.
okay.
Not gonna lie.
Like you were holding your iPhone above your head and you dropped it while you were watching it and it hit you in the face.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was actually kind of the last one. I think I was so hyped for it. I was kind of underwhelmed at first, but then after I watched it again, I was like, yeah, it's good.
There's a lot of cool.
The one that starts out with Luke, I think it was the second one, with Luke does the voiceover.
No, that was the first one.
Oh yeah, it was the second one, wasn't it?
My father has it.
Oh, that one.
My sister
My father
has
has. My father has smallpox. My father has it. And you have it too.
Wow.
It's like as he says that, he says you have that power too, and then the music kicks in.
Oh, you have the power.
Yeah. And they show like the like speeder, and there's like the broken X-wing, and the down Star Destroyer.
Oh, that's the first
Yeah.
one. Luke
That's the
does-
one I'm talking about. That's the one that gave me goosebumps. Luke talks in that one.
Yeah, that it's a voiceover on the first one, but the last one, oh my god.
Did I miss one?
Did
I
I
thought there
get
was
all
three.
the nerd boners on that one?
All right, the first one, there was no talking. That's the one that starts with
Oh, someone's
the guy that his head pops up. Dun. And then it's got Andy Serkis talking. That's the first one.
Well, then I never saw that
There's
one.
been a great awakening in the Force. The good, or the light, or the dark, and the light.
And then he.
That's
and
the
then
first.
He
The second
takes
one.
out his
Well, the second one's the one I'm
lightsaber
talking
that
about.
should never work.
Sons of bitches.
It's like
don't talk to me about Star Wars.
But is anyone else annoyed at the fact that Gwendolyn Christie's in this and we don't get to see her face like at all?
Well, we
Like
don't
it's,
know that.
it's like she's
Maybe you do
behind a
in the movie.
stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah, I
We
don't
can
care.
switch.
She looks badass.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's like I get the feeling that they're mostly visual references to like the villain looks like a new version of a new Darth Vader type, and then you have her character who looks like a new Boba Fett type.
So fun. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's just that to me, it's like at the moment.
I'm sure
it's-
after she's done slaughtering a bunch of people, she'll rip off her helmet and they'll be like, yeah!
she'll be like, "I am no man."
Powerful words.
She'll rip off her helmet and it's like, "I am no man." Like,
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awful, but yeah. Maybe.
it wasn't awful in Lord of the Rings though.
Well, we all saw that coming. Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. When Eowyn takes off her helmet and kills the Witch King, she says, "I am no man." That's the thing. I like that.
It's
but-
not as good as Theoden's speech before the charge.
No.
Yeah. No. And we don't get anything like that in these chapters anyway. Like we don't get someone giving a big speech or whatever. It's like
We don't really get dialogue all that much.
no, but that's the nature of the book. It's just like yeah.
I was going to say, because in Silmarillion, we definitely do get some awesome pre-battle speeches.
Yeah. I was just saying we
Yeah.
don't get it that much.
Yeah,
No.
I guess I guess what the messenger said in this chapter was kind of like a speech. Like it was a bit, a longer
like
section that was in dialogue. But yeah, we usually get told what people think and what people say without actually hearing them say it. It's
John Boyega is the guy whose head pops up in the beginning of the first trailer. I just remember that.
I wouldn't have been able to sleep tonight without that.
so yeah. I don't know.
The Mets
Next time
lost.
it's the Rings of Power. It's like, but that's the shortest section. I was when I initially read the book, I was initially hoping that it was going to be much more detailed than it was. Oh, someone's
What?
Look out.
The
Someone's
Mets lost.
looking for us.
Harley,
Hide your
Harley
shit.
died.
recording is this recording is
Yeah,
illegal.
that's me.
Hide your weed.
Oh well.
No, there's no reason to.
Yeah. No, it's like because the last section is about like 20 pages or something, or 15 pages or whatever. I'm not sure. And I was actually initially hoping that we would get much more detail about what happened, like because even the Akallabeth is much longer. But then we know a lot of this through Lord of the Rings anyway, so it's not.
You talking about the Third Age?
Yeah. The last
That's in
chapter.
the Unfinished Tales. They get a lot more in there, don't they? Isn't that what that is? Where you get all
Oh
the...
no, I haven't
Gandalf's-
read the Unfinished Tales in forever.
I don't know much about the. I mean, like we in the Silmarillion we don't get much about the Blue Wizards either. It's like we don't really know anything about these not much.
Again, you should play Shadow of
Shadow
Mordor.
of
You get
Mordor.
more of that.
Oh no!
Gross.
It's Is Greg
The
still there?
Oluri?
Is he?
What are they called? The Oluri?
Ishtari.
Ulari.
Ishtari.
You know the Eastari. Yeah, I thought you meant the Eastari. You mean the
Ishtari.
East.
No.
Oh my!
Greg, are you still here? Or you give up on us?
If he had given up on us,
I
we
think
would be
Greg
able to see his
give up.
Maybe he really did fall asleep, and I can't blame him for that.
Hello.
What time is it? Oh my god, it's midnight.
Yeah.
What's up?
It's
I'm
half.
here.
It's
What's
20.
That's gonna be
20.
great for work tomorrow.
I did fall asleep. I'm sorry. I'm just tired.
All right,
Oh.
let's go then.
You are tired.
I heard Star Wars talk. What's up?
Yeah, we were
That
just
was
talking
2 hours
about,
ago.
We were just talking about the Eastari.
You said the
Oh.
Mets lost. Mets didn't play yet. What's happening? What?
What? We were talking about the wizards in Lord of the
Sleep.
Rings.
Wow.
Like,
All right, guys.
We're
well,
also
you all have a
talking
good
about
night.
Yeah.
the Mets.
This
Let's
is a good
let's play
time.
tomorrow. Game of the World Series starts tomorrow.
All right.
I drooled too. I fell asleep and I'm drooling. I gotta go. I gotta go to bed.
All right.
Nice.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Keep
Good
going
night.
in.
Good night.
Have a good
Take it
morning.
easy.